Well, hello, you. This is episode 3 of Hair for Radio with I, Jamie Stangroom. Now, despite having credits including Wreck-It Ralph, Star Wars Rogue One, Serenity and Frozen, Alan Tudyk might not yet be a household name. But I guarantee that if someone said who and you showed them a picture, they'd be like, oh, him. I met, him, backstage at London Film and Comic Con, where he told me how he used being part of cancelled TV show Firefly to inspire his own Emmy-nominated web series, Con Man. Other subjects include wearing stilts for his Star Wars experience as K2SO, and how to correctly pronounce his name. So please join me in saying, oh, him, for Alan Tudyk. Otherwise pronounced as...
Tudyk is the proper. The liquid U is the appropriate, as I was taught in drama school. But Tudyk is also appropriate, but then you get Tudyk, Tudyk. Tudyk, yeah. I mean, people, makes sense that it would be Tudyk, I think, looking at it, but people don't want to say that. They're like, it definitely can't be that. Yeah. I won't insult him by saying that. I'll go with a Tudyk.
I'm not suggesting that you know my name, but I felt like I heard you try and say my name earlier when you spotted me across the hall. It sounded like you tried to say my name because I have similar issues.
What are your issues?
Well, many issues, but we only have time to discuss one. My surname is Stangroom. I get Strangroom, Strongroom, Strange Room as the classroom register. Oh. Staghead was the greatest. That came in the form of junk mail, the only piece of junk mail I've ever kept. Jamie Staghead. That's me.
That's good, man. You could be Detective Staghead. That's got a good head. Scotland Yard.
Moving forward, I was wondering, in a parallel universe, if Hillary won the election, would Firefly still be on air?
This is going to turn to tears in a moment. It's really, I can't even... Yeah, sure, that would have come back. Wash would have been rehabilitated somehow. Firefly would have come back on air. We'd all look 10 years younger. It would have been amazing. It would have been an amazing time. Yeah. 15 years younger. When did it get canceled? A long time ago.
I brought the mood down, haven't I? We've gone somber.
Yeah, I tried to stay off of that until, about midday when I can start to look into politics again. But in the mornings, I try to stay away from it because it's really, it's too much. It's too much, man.
Let's talk Comic Cons instead.
Yeah, there we go. Fantasy.
So we're here at London Film and Comic Con. How do these kind of cons compare to the San Diego Comic Con? It's
interesting. The fans are the same as far as they're really generous, and there's a lot of them, a lot of collectors. One thing I noticed is when you do panels, you go up and you talk in front of people. In San Diego, we did a con man panel for 4,000 people.
4,000.
Yeah, 4,000 people. And then you've got the big stage, Hall H, which we had done the 2 years before that because we were announcing our new season. So those were 6,000, 7,000 people because they cram enough in there to make it almost 7, just under. So the whole thing is you're having these panels, which are these huge, huge audiences. And then I did one yesterday that was like 300. But it was a nice, very nice audience. And I got to see the people who were asking the questions.
This is your MTV Unplugged panel, isn't it, really?
That's it, exactly. It was my acoustic set.
I saw at least stills of your Con-Man panel from San Diego. It's a show, isn't it? There's production going into it. I mean, there's high-quality outfits and cardboard cutouts. And
Thank you very much. Yeah, we had a musical episode in the second season, a musical version of Mice and Men called I'm Stupid with Lou Ferrigno playing Lenny. And so... I didn't want to just do another panel where we sat there and answered questions and sat behind a table. So it's going to be on Sci-Fi now, and they were nice enough to let me hijack the idea of doing something very simple. And we did the hoedown number from the musical called Turn Around and Bang. And we still had some of the horse props, and Tricia Helfer, from Battlestar Galactica was in it, had a pig. Amy Acker was part of the horse. It was great. Casper Van Dien from Starship Troopers was the ass end of the horse. It was very nice of him. He wore a dress for me for that thing. Just for that thing.
What wouldn't he do for you?
That's as far as I've gone, and I was pretty surprised. He was so quick to just start removing clothing. And Nolan North, who plays Jerry Lansing, the second best motion capture artist in the world, played a motion capture tree, and we stuck a taxidermied squirrel onto him. It was so much. And my wife... Just because. And my wife... was in it. She was one of the dancers. And yeah, she's a choreographer. And so we got to perform on stage for the first time ever together, which for us was really, really cool.
You mentioned the fans being the something that doesn't change from con to con. Is that the only constant? Are there other constants? I mean, I'm thinking maybe aromas, the heat, perhaps.
No, that's really the only constant. Aromas change, with the seasons.
But the heat doesn't change with the seasons. You could go to a con in winter. I've been to one here in London, and it's boiling.
Yeah, you can. There's a certain soupy quality that takes hold by day, definitely middle of the day too. But it's the fans, and that's in writing that show. That was the one thing that we were always talking about with the different producers that we had pitched it to before we went to crowdfund. Was they are the one constant. It's everybody around them. They're the constant support, at least for the character of Ray. And they're the love, they're the support, the generosity, and then he's the jackass and the moron and the selfish person.
And that makes complete sense, but I suppose a lot of people would assume that Conman is there to take the Mickey, the Michael, out of the fans. But as you've just said, really, the joke's on you, it's on the actors and the people around the actors organising the convention. I mean, Bobby, your booking manager, she's quite a character. You've gone to town portraying her. Is it awkward now around your actual convention booking manager?
It was. Like after the first season, it took a minute. I'm like, I had to reassure them. And there are, one of the things about the Mindy Sterling who plays Bobby, one of the things about her character, she was formerly a sci-fi star in her own mind, who has now become a manager. And there are several of those. So my managers are not that, so they could at least cut themselves out of that.
Rewind a fair few years, and Firefly, your series, had been cancelled.
Yes, yeah.
Too soon.
Yes, too soon.
And you have this idea. So I suppose off the back of Firefly, being a cult hit, if you like, the world of conventions have been opened up to you. So that was probably your first experience of conventions post-Firefly. Am I right in saying that? Yes. Did you have any reservations back then?
Absolutely. It was actually in England, was the first one I came to.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know that they still have this convention anymore. The guy evidently steals money from people, so people don't like to go to his anymore. But it was the first one was in England. It was out by the airport. I remember going, I'm going to London. It's going to be great. And then they drove 6 minutes and we're like, wait, this is it? I'm like, oh yeah, this is what it's going to be.
Wow.
I'm starting to get this now.
So quite easily could have been your last.
Yeah, I guess so. If it wasn't for the fans, which was, I thought it was going to be, I was worried that the fans were going to be weird and strange and all of that you hear if you don't go to them or know them. And it wasn't that. It was the opposite. They were very generous, and there were so many. We partied with them. I remember we went to the bar and drank a lot and hung out, and it was really just kind of felt like family type, like a big family reunion where you don't know most of your family members. They're all just sort of distant cousins, and they're all dressed like sci-fi people.
Yeah.
One of those.
It's Halloween every day.
Yeah.
And then you have an idea for Conman. Right. You take it to networks who have different ideas for it.
Right. Yeah, they like the idea of the fans being crazy. And they all took that track.
Bad crazy.
Bad
Some
crazy.
are crazy, but the good crazy.
Yeah, like obsessed. And I think that's not the best. There are obsessed people, and sci-fi fans know them. They know some of them, and they are people who are to be looked out for because they're not stable. There's fandom, and then there's something else. And so they always wanted to characterize them as this strange other people, and we didn't like that. My producing partner, PJ Harsma, and Nathan Fillion. And so we ended up taking it to the fans themselves with crowdfunding and raised $3.2 million.
Was that a record on Indiegogo?
It was, yeah. There was all kinds of records. My other producing partner can rattle them off. We'd first raise $1 million in 24 hours, the fastest to do that, or something for a series. There's all these qualifications that go with it.
Your character does have that resentment that you mentioned going into each convention. He's an actor, of course, is Ray. I know you're not going to name names, feel free to. Do you experience that when you're in the green room at conventions? Are some people a little bit, chip on their shoulder?
I have seen it. It didn't come out of nowhere. I've seen it. I don't know their names, but they stand out. It's like a racist person that suddenly, you're hanging out with somebody, everybody's getting along, then somebody makes a racist comment and everybody goes, ooh, who brought that guy? That you're hanging out in a green room and then somebody goes, God, these fans, blah, blah, blah. Ugh, I'm going to go get something over here. So there are a few.
Do people forget they're getting paid? It's a job, isn't it, really?
It is. I think the people who are the most bitter, the ones that I've seen, are the ones who really aren't getting, they don't have that many fans. I wonder why. They don't have many fans, and they're, this, even looking to this sort of option in life, that it really isn't an option. That they had a short-lived career that they're holding on to. It's awful. Anyway.
Conman 3, that's a demand, by the way.
Oh, good. Conman 3, good. Well, we're going to be on Sci-Fi. They're going to show seasons 1 and 2 on Sci-Fi, so you can see them there, and if you miss them there, you can get them on their website. And then I think it just depends on how many people watch it that they would give us a season 3. But I've written some episodes. I've experienced some episodes. I began writing I just wrote a lot, and then once we got money, I made the ones that I wanted to shoot. So there are some that I have that I haven't.
So you're ready, at least.
I'm partially ready. Yeah, there's some funny stories that I've been wanting to tell. One from that first con here,
really,
about going 6 minutes from the airport and never making it to the city, trying to get into the city the whole time and never being able to get into the city.
Yeah, that's like a rock star's lifestyle, isn't it? Go to the concert, go to the hotel, go to the next place, isn't it? You've got a good life. Stop moaning.
Yeah, no, hey, it's great. It's great. It's yes. When you're just that close to London, it's tough.
I know, you just want to swan in on the tube, but you don't have the time.
Swan in on the tube, swan in on the Concorde, and then just swan right back out. It's how I'm swanning around.
Hey, you were in Star Wars.
Oh, yeah.
You were. How was that? And also, I'd just like to know, do you miss your stilts? Do you still use your stilts? Do you pop out to the shop for some milk in them? Because you get around quicker, wouldn't you? You've mastered the art of stilt walking.
Those stilts were good because they had flexible feet on them, so you could actually bounce on the toes and get some, some kind of acrobatic agility happening.
Stilt swanning.
I would swan in on the stilts, do a bit of K2SO, swan back to the Langham, and just chill out. I'd eat roast swan at night. It's delicious.
You must have had one issue, though, with K2, because robots generally don't die in Star Wars, and you got like the limited edition treatment. How did you feel about that?
Right. Well, it was great, actually, because everybody, spoiler alert, everybody dies. But that's great because it makes sense that they would because of where it falls. It would be, in the numbering system, it would be 3.5. So right before the Luke Skywalker ones that we all came to know, the first Star Wars movies, and then they backed up and did those 3 that people don't like as much. And then we're wedged right between those 3 and what we think of as the first 3. So none of those characters could exist in the 1970 movies, the ones in the 70s. So they had to all die, or else you'd say, whatever happened to Cassian and Jyn and K2SO?
Am I right in saying that you had a lot of freedom, not just with the lines, but also in developing the personality of K2?
Right. Early on, there's this line where Cassian comes in, and I've been talking to Jyn, and he says, I see you've met K2. I've been working on my dialogue.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, I see you met K2. And she says, oh, yeah, lovely. And he says, I'm sorry. This is part of his reprogram. And so if ever I've met somebody that people come in, they're like, oh, you met him? And they go, yeah, oh, sorry about him. Without even knowing what I did or what I said, he was apologizing for me. So that gave me freedom to do and say anything I wanted. And the lines, there were some things in the script that had, somebody came up and said, droid, get those crates. And I said, no, but you can. And I walked away. And it's not in the movie anymore, but I took that as sort of a starting point, a jumping off point. And then, like you said, Gareth really let us all play with our lines. And so a lot of my lines ended up in the movie, surprisingly, because I was just goofing around half the time.
It's such a big movie, such a big franchise as well. Now, I like the accent. I get the accent, why you went for that accent. With K2 being previously an Imperial droid, the English, that English accent. But, I mean, could you not, what is it with you people? Branding us as like a nation of butlers. We're a diverse nation. Why not a Brummie K2SO, which is the accent of Ozzy Osbourne, if you can imagine?
Oh, I did suggest that he was like that. Hello, son. It's Sove.
Bit more Cockney, old school London. Yeah. What about Scouser? That's Liverpool.
Liverpool. Oh, it goes
yeah,
happen.
Like me, it's like this, we talk like this. That's a Scouser, yeah.
I didn't try that one. I'd have to learn it first.
I don't know if I can even let that make the cut, because I've probably offended the people of Liverpool right there. But Brummie is it's more like, all right, mate, I'm from Birmingham. So what's your bunch from Birmingham?
Yeah.
Black Sabbath,
I don't know. That could have worked, maybe, if K2 had a sidekick.
I'm just all about diversity, Alan, at the end of the day.
Right.
We are not a nation of butlers. I don't have a butler.
I had one once.
Did you?
Yeah, I stayed at some hotel here, and fancy hotel, posh. And I showed up, and they said, and this is Philip, your butler. I said, hello, sir. I was like, wait, you're what? He goes, I'm your butler while you're staying here. Would you like me to get you a bath? I was like, no. I don't need a butler. Thank you, though. Thank you. It's like, well, if you need me, there's buttons. You can just press for a button. I'll come, if you want me to press your suits or anything like that. I was like, I don't think I'll need you. By day 3, I was like, Philip! I said a warm bath. What is this? This is tepid at best. Empty it. Start over again. And I said, press my brown suit. So really quickly, you just go...
Green M&Ms.
Yeah, green M&Ms, yeah. You didn't order M&Ms. That swan.
You changed. I'm just waiting for you to change during this interview, to be honest. The attitude will change. You'll be sending me out to get you coffee, water. I just don't know what demands are about to come.
Flat white.
But this Philip guy sounds to me a little bit like C-3PO, and I want to bring up C-3PO because Anthony Daniels had some robot beef with you, didn't he? Is that right?
Yeah, he has beef with everybody.
Okay.
He didn't like that I wore a motion capture suit, like Andy Serkis, and so it was very comfortable. And
you were on stilts. You had to learn to use stilts.
I was on stilts, and I did have these hands I had to use every once in a while, these robot hands, and so it wasn't just swanning about, if you will. So when I first met him, I said, I'm K2SO, and I know you're C-3PO, and he said, I read about it. Yeah, I saw the script. I didn't know. So are you in a suit or are you in a motion capture? Is it digital? I said, it's going to be digital. And he said, you shit. And then after the movie, I was going down to sit in my chair and he stopped me. I saw him in the aisle. He's like, hello. He said, I'm going to give you notes when it's done.
You're making him sound like K2. Less C-3PO, more K2.
What? No, he's just saucy. And then afterwards, after seeing it, he came up to me and saw me and said, fuck you. It was like the most complimentary
it's the best cuss ever, isn't it?
Right. It was the most generous fuck you I've ever received. And I don't know.
I wondered how things would change if you were willing, if you were to read a couple of C-3PO lines in the style of K2, which I guess you could call sarcastic rereadings, couldn't you? Because there's a difference in tone between these robots. So to give you some context, the first one is a surprised reaction from C-3PO when the robotic eye kind of security camera thing pops out at Jabba's palace.
Right. Goodness gracious me. I think he just became kind of flat about it.
This is C-3PO's overcome with emotion to be reunited with his old friend.
R2-D2, it is you. It is you. I just think he'd be kind of over it. I don't know. It just kind of makes him sound emotionless.
Here C-3PO plays salesman to encourage Luke Skywalker to purchase R2-D2.
Excuse me, sir, but who would I call sir? I would never call anybody sir. I would just say that R2 unit is in prime condition. I would say a bargain.
This is what I like. This is interrupting an emotional reunion.
Goodness. Han Solo. It is I? Good God, he really talks like that, doesn't he? Han Solo. It's me. I have a red arm now.
The thing is, they're kind of similar in so many ways, but at the same time, this has demonstrated how different those two robots, the personalities really are, and the language as well.
Goodness gracious me, my God.
And I don't know why we were talking about swans so much either. That's all for episode 3. If you're listening on YouTube, please give this thing a like. It really does help. And let me know in the comments which future guests you'd like to hear on the podcast. The music that you're hearing is by London-based producer Body Moves. Meanwhile, I'm Jamie Stangroom, and I have hair for radio.